Good old Elmore Brothers tune. I don't know what I may take a notion to do on this before I get done, but I'll dedicate this here and to the fellas that like to pick the guitar. And I ain't gonna tell you what it is, I'm just gonna pick it.
Meet the legendary Doc Watson, a true guitar virtuoso. Doc Watson's guitar playing was nothing short of magical. Born in 1923 in Deep Gap, North Carolina, he lost his eyesight at a very young age due to an eye infection. But despite his blindness, he became a very highly accomplished musician and guitarist, earning widespread recognition for his remarkable musical talents. Today I'm going to teach you one of the most famous songs from Doc Watson called Deep River Blues. And this one's played in his boom chuck style. Let's jump right in. Alright, so there's a trick to these first two chords. I'm going to start with that. If you take this first fingering here on this E7 chord, and then you slide your second, third, and fourth fingers down and leave your index in the same fret, then it gives you that second chord. You might look at the chord chart and think, well, I should play this chord shape that I know. Well, no, because then you're gonna have to switch like all of your fingers to get back to the first chord, and you're not gonna have time to really do that. So it's an easy transition, just squeeze them down. Now, hopefully you guys know on this song already that it's a boom chuck song, meaning that our thumb is going to consistently be playing boom chuck the whole time. Now, with boom chuck, there's only two patterns, and then there's an optional variation that comes up sometimes. But the patterns look like this. If you have a chord that starts on the A string root, for example, A, or C, or B7, then you start the chuck on the fifth string and you go boom, chuck, boom, chuck, boom, chuck, boom, chuck, going fifth string, chuck on the fourth and third strings, and then boom on the sixth string, chuck on the fourth and third strings, okay? The other pattern is the reverse of that. It's for chords that start on the sixth string root, like E, or G, or F, or anything that starts on the sixth string root. Sixth string boom, and then chuck on strings 4 and 3. And the chuck is always on the same strings, okay? The other thing to keep in mind is you always want to try to make the chuck as big as possible, even though it's written a lot of times in tabs, even tabs that I've written, to chuck just one string. It's up to you as the player to decide how much chuck you're able to do. The more chuck, oftentimes the better, okay? So you can even do 3 or 4 string chucks in some cases. Let's go through the whole chord progression. First E7, and then the diminished chord, and then we'll go to the rest of it. So we start here, then the diminished, back to E7, A7, E, I'm just gonna play it simply, B7 for 2 bars, then repeat, squeeze diminished, A7, E, B7, E, and that's the ending. So the whole thing is a 16 bar pattern. Occasionally, sometimes when he's singing, he's gonna play the opening chords down here. So instead of doing these, he sticks to the open position version. So it sounds like this. E, diminished, back to E, A7, E. So you can keep it simple. So we're going to play it very slowly with the metronome, and then afterwards I'm going to show you how we can add some of those other elements to make it a little bit more advanced and a little bit more accurate to how he played it live. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so that's the simplified version, but getting up to the full version that I played at the beginning is not that much more difficult. There's an intro phrase, there's an ending tag, and then there's some little bitty syncopation things in the middle of this. Let's start with adding those little syncopation phrases. Now, basically, it's just this. When you're adding syncopation, you're just basically plucking an extra finger from the chord shape. You're never gonna be doing anything extra with the left hand. So instead of just this, it might sound like this. I'm just adding another pluck before the second chuck. Pluck, chuck. Pluck, chuck, right? Instead of... There's a lot of instances where you can just add an index finger to help it groove a little bit more. I've added those in the tabs in red, and you can see those here. And that's how you can add some syncopation. And now if you've listened to a bunch of versions of him playing it, you also notice that sometimes he'll do a solo section where he stops singing and he basically plays the same thing, but he changes the phrasing. On the solo section, he pulls back the high notes a quarter beat, like this. So the ending tag is just right at the end, the last two measures, he does this kind of phrase like this. He doesn't pop the low string as much as I do, but I just think it's so much fun, I can't help it. So what we're doing is just a couple triplet phrases, and then you're done. So it goes E, triplet, triplet, E, and then just roll up the E chord, and then hit an E low string to finish it off. That's pretty easy. That's a way that you can finish it. Sometimes he actually places that little phrase in the middle of the song and then keeps going to the next verse. So place that wherever you want in the middle, but definitely put it at the end. Now in the intro, I already talked a little bit about this, how he reverses the order. Instead of going, he goes up. Okay, and then the second part that's different here, instead of that, he changes the phrasing to play an E7 in this position. So he's sliding into that phrase. Let me play that real slow to help you out. But then after you get this, just jump back to the fast playthrough I did at the beginning with the tabs. 2, 3, 4. And then you go back into the song. And then you go back into the real song. Thanks so much for watching. If you want to see some other Boom Chuck songs, check this one out over here, and I'll see you guys there.